zweiter Tag InterTabac, Michael, 9:30. Wir müssen noch ein bisschen warten, bis wir reinkommen. Aber dann geht's richtig los. Terminplan ist voll und wir werden sicherlich wieder einige interessante Leute treffen.
Oh ja, wie gesagt, man sieht ja heute auch endlich Sonne. Wie sagst du,
Endlich.
Klassisches
Ruhrgebietswetter.
Gestern war schon super interessant und auch ziemlich anstrengend. Heute wird noch ein bisschen voller. Aber ich bin super gespannt. Tolle Termine, großartige Zigarren.
Ja.
Hoffentlich genauso spannende Menschen. Und ich würde sagen, kommt einfach mit, oder?
Genau, wir nehmen euch mit. Kommt.
We are here today with Jeremiah Meerapfel, or it's a Meerapfel? Or?
Meerapfel.
Meerapfel. So because we're German speaking, I mean you're a true, I would say, industry legend, or the family is a very legendary, I would say, yeah, family behind this industry. What's the heritage, or what's the history doing cigar wrappers or tobacco? In short,
You told me that the interview was going to be for a few minutes. if we start speaking about 400 years of business,
okay.
It might be a little bit more than a few minutes.
So it's 400 years.
Our family started in Spain in the 1600s.
Okay.
1610 to be exact, more or less. In those days, we were pirates trading tobacco between the old world and the new world. Mm-hmm. The name Meerapfel, actually, many people don't know. Was only transformed 100 years later when we arrived to Germany. But the family name in those days was Meerapfel, which in Aramean means smoke.
Oh.
We were trading leaf between Spain and the New World. Mm-hmm. And in the early 1700s, when we arrived to Germany, to a village called Michelsfeld, which is near Karlsruhe, the Germans looked at this Spaniard family that arrived. Meerapfel, okay, we're going to change your name. You're people from the sea, yes?
Meer.
So now you're called Meer. And what is Meerapfel? It's Apfel. Meerapfel. So this is how Meerapfel was born. The name Meerapfel was born. And we brought our tobacco culture and heritage to Germany.
Okay.
Michelsfeld in the early 1700s, and then later on, after we were growing tobacco in the area. As you know, this area in Germany was huge in tobacco growing.
Yeah.
And later on, we went down the road to Untergrumbach, where in 1876 we opened our first cigar factory.
Okay.
And the Meerapfel cigar factory was born. And we were producing Meerapfel cigars. Mm-hmm. Obviously, time went by and things happened. The war came, etc., etc. And let's speed things up a little bit between the family moving to Cuba and all of the relationships that happened in Cuba. In 2003, my father passed away very suddenly. And my gift to him and to the heritage of the 400 years was to bring back the Meerapfel production of cigars. So in effect, you probably have the oldest cigar in the world, which is in front of your eyes.
But this is a super interesting story, because if you don't tell this story, people will come up and say, hey, they just introduced a cigar.
Not quite.
Yeah, but it's completely different.
Yes.
It's absolutely not what it looks like. So you're getting back to your heritage and delivering cigars.
We're going back to part of our heritage. The family never went back to producing a Meerapfel cigar, and it's something that's in my father's name and the name of my ancestors was very important for us for many, many, many reasons.
And but besides doing cigars, you're also growing tobacco.
Oh
Or
goodness!
this
I
is
mean, our
probably-
family grows tobacco and trades tobacco Back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, my grandfather was the largest exporter of Cuban tobacco in history. As you know, he was the best friend of Che Guevara, who was the Minister of Industry at that time. We were license holders of Habanos, of Cuba tobacco. My grandfather launched Cohiba, and my grandmother's cousin was Zino Davidoff. My grandfather helped him launch his company. So we've been around for a few years, and we've, let's say, been behind the scenes for a long time.
So that means basically, I mean, the whole cigar industry would look completely different without your family.
Maybe it would look a lot better.
Yeah, we don't know. But I think it looks quite well.
Thank you.
So any cigars coming up for the future? I mean, you just launched just a few ones, but what's in your mind?
Meerapfel Cigar is not about selling cigars at all. It's about recreating a segment in the industry. As we all can appreciate the greatest vines and the greatest watches and the greatest cars in the world, there was something missing in our industry. The Pagani of the cigar industry was missing. How do you take an industry and you push it to a level which doesn't really exist?
Yeah.
And to do this, it's quite complicated. You need to decompose everything. You know, is a Pagani a better car than a Volkswagen or a Mercedes? No, it's not. Is it more reliable? Maybe not. But what you're doing is you're decomposing every segment of the product. Every wrapper, every binder, filler, box, band, ribbon, you name it. And you spread it apart and you reinvent, or you bring it to a level which is insane. And the Meerapfel cigar is this. It's the uber luxury, the insanity of what a cigar is all about. And it's when it's brought back together that it makes sense. The same way as when you're going into a Pagani or going into a bespoke Bugatti. This is the reasoning. Now, why would somebody do something like this? It's to be able to express your art, to be able to bring things, to test things, to play with things, to sustain certain things, which in industry, it's not quite possible to do. Because when you do something for commercial reasons, you have always certain limitations.
Yeah.
When you do something no longer for commercial reasons, you have no more limitations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is what Meerapfel cigar represents.
Yeah.
The uber luxury of not making sense, but creating a certain magic outside of it.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's a very, very, very cool and very interesting, how to say, analogy that I find. Because if you say Pagani, they source the engines from Mercedes. And so you produce cigars not from scratch or everything for your own. You also have a very, very, very skilled partner that does it.
Well, the difference is that we own the tobacco fields which produce a lot of this magic.
Yeah.
So the sourcing of our product come from the same level of insanity when we're using certain tobaccos which are older than some of you around here. We're able to manufacture a product which, in terms of let's say modern manufacturing, is no longer possible. This is not a product where it's a small batch production one-off. This is a product which is continuously produced in small quantities, but continuously produced. The only way to be able to do this is obviously to have been putting away tobaccos for 20, 30, 40, 50 years and continuously. And this obviously creates a very, very special recipe. You're speaking about manufacturing of a cigar, manufacturing of a band, manufacturing of a silk ribbon. This is a crazy example. You know, you speak about a ribbon, for example. The ribbon maker here that we work with is an old house in France. It's the only company in the world left that is making them by hand and dipping them by hand and coloring them by hand. I first met them in Monaco at the Hermitage. They were making some bands or for the bespoke Chanel
Perfume or?
no clientele.
Yeah.
This type of heritage is disappearing. And so everything which is done, absolutely every element, everything from every detail is worked in this direction and is worked in this a level of, call it accuracy, call it traditionalism,
craftsmanship.
This is the most important thing for our products.
Wow. I mean, this was inspiring because, you know, being outside of the industry, not knowing the perfect history, I don't want to say it's a cigar, but if you hear everything that you do with it, it changes the way you look at it. For me, at least.
A Pagani is a car.
Yeah.
Okay, but everything depends on detail, and it's very important. It's crucially important that we're able to preserve this type of craftsmanship. Industries tend to move towards getting away from this. We saw it in the food industry. We saw it in the clothing industry.
Sure.
We saw it in the car industry. And once it goes too far, we start losing where we came from.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
I know.
And this is why it's so important that there's a few, call them crazy people out there, fanatics out there, artists out there, whatever you want to call them, who unconditionally are willing and able.
True. To do this. Amazing. Since our channel is called Better Together, we're talking a lot about, you know, what to pair with cigars. Is there anything you would say fits perfectly, or would you also say it just has to have the same kind of spirit?
Yes, especially a Meerapfel cigar.
Yeah,
What do you want to pair with a Meerapfel cigar?
It's an extremely difficult question to ask.
I know.
I am of the notions that there is no rule to taste.
Sure.
And I truly believe and respect that every person in the world has a different palate and a different set of interpretation of what's lighting up in the brain when they're tasting certain things. However, there is a form of education which goes with excellence.
Yeah.
The first time anybody drinks a glass of wine, usually they don't really like it. The first time anybody drinks a glass of beer, usually they don't really like it.
True.
And most everything, two things happen. Number one, there's acquired taste. And number two, there's education. Okay? So I'm going to give you two answers. And there's a million answers to this question.
For sure.
But I'm going to give you two answers. The first is to say, what makes you happy? Because what we are trying to create is a moment of extreme joy and happiness.
Yeah.
And if that extreme joy and happiness at a certain moment of your life is with a beer or with a glass of wine or with I don't know, even a Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I am no one to judge this. However, there is ways to refine the palate, to educate the palate into notions of excellence. Now, that doesn't mean that it makes somebody more right on what's good than what's wrong. Okay? What it does mean is it teaches people how to search for elements inside products which make them ridiculously difficult to achieve. You speak to a beer maker, the greatest beer makers will teach you how to recognize why their beer is so exceptional. The exceptional winemakers will teach your palate how to recognize why this small piece of land is giving you certain aromas which no other wine in the world can achieve. And it's the same thing with cigars.
Yeah.
So, if you want to go to the uber luxury experience, then try pairing something impossible to make in terms of cigars with something impossible to make in terms of either beer or cognac or whiskey or wine or tea. It doesn't matter. But bring the excellences of the world together and marry them. And it's not so much that it's going to be better. It's that it's going to give you an enormous intellectual orgasm.
Yeah.
Because you're bringing together worlds which are impossible worlds. And this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, on a day-to-day basis, I like enjoying my cigars with a cup of tea or with some water or with something which cleans my palate. Why? Because remember that I am looking at the science and the arts when I'm creating my products.
Yeah.
And so to be able to create the science and the art of my product, I need to keep things razor sharp in terms of my taste buds.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between having fun with the cigar,
Yeah.
and there's a difference between creating and studying the next step of
Yeah,
the cigar.
yeah.
Now, I know this is a maybe very different answer than what probably anybody has given you, but this is the answer from the artist behind the products who is looking at it in this way.
But I mean, why should the answers always be so simple, you know? It's great. But the funny thing is, you're the third, the fourth, or fifth person that tells us tea. And we think tea is an amazing pairing.
We tried tea
because
before.
We tried tea before because it cleans the plate. And the funny thing for me is tea is a grown plant.
Absolutely.
It's a leaf.
With
It's a leaf,
fermentation
it's fermented,
process.
exactly, and then you have a fermented cigar.
And it-
so somehow it grows together, it goes together, and it makes it really, how to say, clear?
Yes, absolutely.
I like this very much.
increases the taste of the
It
cigar.
increases the, exactly. Yeah,
That's the thing. You taste the cigar more intensively.
yeah, true. But this was amazing.
So you need to try your cigars with tea because and different types of waters. Very, very interesting.
True.
With different mineralities are bringing out very different notions.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting path.
Yeah. But this is amazing. So thank you very much for
Not
the
at all.
insight.
Thanks for your
I
time.
expected by far not what you just told us, and this was even much better. So thank you very much.
No, it's my
It's
pleasure.
great.
Come back.
We
We'll
will.
talk about the history. We'll talk about the dozens of generations and how they lived through it and how they paired their cigars.
Yeah.
Because if we go back to my great-grandfather, who was in Indonesia, or you go back to my great-great-grandfather in Germany,
Yeah.
or back further,
Yeah.
you can be sure that the way they paired the cigars were very different to how we're pairing our cigars
Oh,
today.
absolutely.
So let's never forget our history.
do that.
Great job. Thank you for
Thank
what
you
you're
very
doing.
much.
It's
Thank you for
an
your
honor and a
time.
pleasure.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, wir sind jetzt heute da mit Martin Schuster von Schuster Zigarren, oder nicht? Ja, Martin, wir kennen uns ja schon eine Zeit lang und
Das ist so.
also wir freuen uns ja super, wirklich, dass wir da sein dürfen. Erzähl uns vielleicht mal, was es Neues gibt bei euch.
Ja, mich mache ich gerne. Also wir sind hier bei uns am Stand auf der InterTabac. Wir haben dieses Jahr bei Bentley 2 neue Formate vorgestellt. In der White und in der Green eine Toro. Wir rauchen sie auch gerade in der Green.
Super.
Ein bisschen kräftiger, die White ist ein bisschen leichter. Super Erfolg gewesen auf der Messe, war für uns eine wichtige Ergänzung im Portfolio. Wir haben eben drüber gesprochen. Bentley hat ja relativ wenig verschiedene Formate, damit es überschaubar ist und für jeden was dabei ist, haben wir jetzt entschieden, die Toro dazu zu nehmen. Ja, das war die Messe-Neuheit für Bentley dieses Jahr. Wir haben natürlich noch ein paar andere Sachen mitgebracht, über die sprechen wir gleich noch. Auf jeden Fall eine
Ja.
spannende Messe.
Wenn du sagst Schuster Zigarren, ihr habt doch eine ziemlich lange Geschichte. Was ist bei euch jetzt das, sage ich mal, Besondere im Vergleich zu anderen Zigarrenproduzenten?
Ja, wir haben tatsächlich eine lange Geschichte. Unser Unternehmen ist 1909 gegründet worden von meinem Urgroßvater. Ich bin jetzt die vierte Generation. Wir machen in Deutschland Zigarren, 100% Tabak, einen klassischen europäischen Shortfiller und sind so in der integrierten Produktion, wie wir das machen, mit der Einlage, mit den Kisten, mit allem drum und dran, sind wir eigentlich so die Einzigen, die das noch in der Form machen. Also bei uns kommt wirklich der Tabakballen an und das Holzfurnier und am Ende fallen niedliche kleine Kistchen mit Zigarillos raus. Ich habe hier mal eins mitgebracht, das B13 Zigarillo. Also es ist einfach faszinierend, wenn man sieht, wie traditionell so ein Produkt hergestellt wird.
Also ihr seid so eines der letzten echten Familienunternehmen in diesem Bereich.
Ja, das ist so. Also leider fallen immer wieder welche weg. Das erleben wir auch. Aber wir versuchen, die Tradition fortzuführen. Ich habe Anfang des Jahres die Geschäftsführung von meinem Vater übernehmen dürfen und habe jetzt die Verantwortung auch für die Produktion. Ja, als vierte Generation mache ich das gemeinsam mit meiner Schwester und meinem Cousin. Ja, wir wollen tatsächlich dafür sorgen, dass es noch ein paar Jahre weitergeht.
Sehr spannend.
Du bist jetzt ja, Geschäftsführer von Schuster. Wir sind hier am Stand und ihr habt natürlich nicht nur die Bentley-Zigarre, sondern ihr habt ja noch viele andere Marken, wie wir hier sehen. Welche vertreibt ihr denn sonst noch?
Ja, Emma, wir haben bei Schuster traditionell unsere eigenen Marken, die Casa de Torres Maria Mancini natürlich. Wir haben die Teatro del Mundo letztes Jahr neu vorgestellt, aber wir haben hier am Stand natürlich unsere Partner auch mit dabei, Christian Eiroa mit CLE, Asylum und Eiroa. Wir haben die Firma Patoro mit dabei aus der Schweiz mit Pablo Richard. Wir haben Nick Milillo mit Foundation hier mit am Stand. Wir haben die Roma Craft Zigarren mit am Stand aus Nicaragua. Alles Produkte, die wir in Europa distribuieren und natürlich in Deutschland auch. Mit unseren Partnern, die uns eine lange Verbindung auch, mit denen wir eine lange Verbindung haben.
Ein schönes, breites Portfolio.
Ja, nicht zu breit, aber so breit, dass jeder was findet.
Ja, aber schöne Marken.
Das stimmt.
Ja, sehr cool.
Ich meine, du wirst ja hoffentlich wissen, unser Zigarren-Channel heißt ja Better Together. Wir beschäftigen uns ja auch mit Pairings und das ist unsere erste Intention gewesen, Dinge miteinander zu kombinieren. Wenn ich jetzt diese Bentley Zigarre rauche, was würdest du mir empfehlen, damit zu kombinieren?
Das ist ganz einfach. Wir haben nämlich bei der Firma Bentley den B13 Rum entwickelt. Und das ist tatsächlich ein Produkt, was speziell für die Zigarre gemacht ist. Also es ist wirklich ein Rum, wo wir uns hingesetzt haben und haben überlegt, wie können wir eigentlich ein Produkt machen, was möglichst gut zu unserer Zigarre passt. Haben viel rumprobiert. Das ist ein Rum, der wird in Barbados hergestellt. Wir haben den vor etwas mehr als 10 Jahren entwickelt, haben den dann vor ungefähr 9 Jahren auf den Markt gebracht. Der wird in Barbados gelagert, kommt nach Frankreich, kommt dann in Frankreich nochmal ins Cognac-Fass, kriegt dadurch eine schöne, weiche Charakteristik, ist nicht zu süß. Wenn das Produkt zu süß ist, zerschlägt das die Zigarre, das will man ja auch nicht, deswegen muss man das gut ausbalancieren. Aber insbesondere zur Bentley-Zigarre passt der B13 Rum natürlich ganz hervorragend.
Hätten wir jetzt fast probieren sollen, aber es ist noch Vormittag, muss man sagen. Es ist schon okay, wenn man Zigarre raucht am Vormittag, aber sich dann noch den Rum reinzuhauen. Aber es ist vielleicht eine gute Überleitung, wenn du jetzt mal kein alkoholisches Getränk zur Zigarre trinken würdest. Was würdest du da nehmen? Gibt's da was du
Oh, das ist nicht so ist ein bisschen, also ich will nicht sagen esoterisch, aber was ich für mich entdeckt habe, ist Kombucha. Fermentierter schwarzer Tee, der ist ein bisschen süß. Und wir machen den tatsächlich, also bei mir zu Hause mache ich den selber. Ich habe so einen Kombucha-Pilz und mache mir den Kombucha selber. Okay. Und dann kannst du den mit und ohne Kohlensäure machen. Okay. Und wenn du den mit nur ganz wenig Kohlensäure ausbaust, dann passt der tatsächlich doch ganz gut zur Zigarre. Und weil ich ja zu den Leuten gehöre, die auch ganz gerne mal morgens schon eine Zigarre rauchen, ich habe mir mittlerweile den Kaffee ein bisschen abgewöhnt, deswegen brauchte ich Alternativen und dann fand ich Kombucha tatsächlich spannend. Also müsst ihr probieren, ist nicht jedermanns Sache, ich finde es ganz geil.
Extrem.
Ja. Wir hatten ja Tee schon im Pairing und es war extrem überraschend.
Ja.
Es unterstützt so ein bisschen die Aromen der Zigarre, überlagert nicht, sondern holt die einfach noch viel mehr raus. Ne?
Absolut richtig, ja, absolut richtig. Also es ist wirklich, ich mache ja häufig Veranstaltungen und wenn ich denen dann erzähle, ja, müssen wir Kombucha zur Zigarre trinken, dann wirst du mal angeguckt, das kämpfst du vom Mond. Aber das ist wirklich, also ich kann es empfehlen. Also sollte man mal probieren.
Ich finde das wirklich toll, dass du das sagst, weil nachdem wir das im Kanal schon mal hatten, ich glaube, die Leute schauen uns immer noch ein bisschen komisch an. aber wenn es dann auch vom Produzenten kommt, der das für sich entdeckt hat, finde ich das noch ein extra starkes Argument. Also probiert das mal mit Tee oder Kombucha, da wäre ich auch vor allen Dingen gespannt, was unsere Zuschauer, unsere Viewer sagen würden. Aber ja, coole Sache. Ja. Ich würde sagen, vielen Dank.
Sehr gerne. Danke für den Besuch.
Mega toll. Freue mich jetzt schon aufs nächste Mal.
Auf jeden Fall.
Sehen. Spätestens bei der InterTabac nächstes Jahr.
Genau, und wir rauchen gerade schon die grüne Bentley-Zigarre, empfehlenswert.
Absolut, tolle Zigarre, wirklich. Chapeau.
Vielen Dank.
Dankeschön.
Vielen Dank
Danke.
euch. Danke für den Besuch.
Gerne.
So we're here today with Drew Newman, fourth generation cigar maker from Tampa, Florida.
That's right.
It's a pleasure that you have us here. We're absolutely excited, to talk a little bit about your company, your heritage, and the cigars you brought with us or with you. Maybe what's so special about your cigar company?
Sure. So my great-grandfather, J.C. Newman, founded our family business in 1895, and 4 generations And 129 years later, we still handcraft beautiful luxury cigars just like he did a century ago. And it's just a real pleasure to share them with you and
you.
all of your viewers.
So we're smoking an American rolled cigar.
We are a very unique cigar. Unfortunately, it's a cigar that's not available here in Germany or in Austria or the rest of Europe, but it's a beautiful cigar, Angel Cuesta, that we roll by hand in our iconic El Reloj cigar factory in the cigar city of Tampa, Florida.
So you told me before, is it right? This is the last existing cigar factory in the US?
Yes. When my great-grandfather founded our company in 1895, there were 40,000 cigar factories in the United States.
40,000?
40,000.
Wow.
Because back then, every town, every city had its own bakery, had its own brewery, had its own distillery, its own print shops, and its own cigar factory. There were no national brands at that point. But from those 40,000, we're the last one still operating a traditional cigar factory in the United States. But cigars have been made in the United States since 1612, before the United States was even founded. And so they're an important part of our culture and our tradition, and we're privileged to be able to keep that legacy of cigar making in the United States alive.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. If I would take the differences between Europe and the US, what I see is if you celebrate something, everybody has a cigar.
That's right.
And it's not the same here, because if we celebrate, we drink wine maybe, or a beer.
Wine and beer are great too, but you're right. Cigars are an important part of our culture, and it's part of the reason why the United States is the largest market for cigars in the world.
Amazing. There's a very interesting story and a connection with Austria.
Yes.
Which I like very much. I mean, I'm Austrian. Can you tell us about the Salzburg cigar?
Sure. So we are an American company, but my great-grandfather, J.C. Newman, who founded our family business, was not born in the United States. He was born in 1875 in a little village in Austria-Hungary. So even though we are an American company, our roots are in Europe and our roots are in Austria and in Hungary. And so when my great-grandfather came to America and founded our company, one of his very first brands that he made was Salzburg.
And amazing, really.
And the reason why is because as a little child, he visited Salzburg and he saw how beautiful the city was back then. It's beautiful today, but it was a beautiful city in the late 1800s. And he remembered it. And so when he was developing his first brand of cigars, he remembered the beautiful city of Salzburg, and he wanted to create a cigar that honored it. And so one of our first cigar brands was Salzburg, and we sold it for many years. It was very successful in the United States, but it went out of favor and was discontinued. And so a few years ago, we were visiting Austria and chatting with our wonderful importer, Johann Gali, and he was saying, your family's from Austria-Hungary. Can we make the Salzburg cigar again, just for Austria? I said, of course. It's a very special cigar to our family, and let's recreate this special cigar again just for Austria.
And with the relaunch, there were 100 special boxes, right?
Yes. We have a wonderful collection of cigar memorabilia in our archive, and we found 100 original Flor de Salzburg cigar labels in our museum collection, and we could put them in our museum, or we could put them in cigars. And so we took 100 original cigar labels that we had left and made 100 original cigar boxes with the 100-year-old cigar labels. And those did very well, and then now we've reproduced the Salzburg cigar label so we can continue selling these very special cigars in Austria, and just in Austria.
Really cool.
Unfortunately. Well, great for us. I mean, I got a couple of, and I have one of these original boxes at home, so I keep them, how to say, in a very, very special place. We see a couple of other cigars here.
Yes.
But you told us your assortment is much bigger.
We do.
That means you have just a few of them on the European market.
We do.
So which ones are available in Germany?
So we manufacture cigars by hand in 3 factories. In our historic El Reloj cigar factory in Tampa, Florida. We also have a large cigar factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. And we've been partners with the Arturo Fuente family for 30 plus years now. And they make cigars for us in the Dominican Republic. Here in Germany and in Austria too, we make and sell our brick house cigars, which are very popular. Perla de Mar, thank you. Perla de Mar cigars and Quorum cigars, which are all made in our factory in Nicaragua. And we also sell our Diamond Crown Classic. They're behind me, our Maximus, Julius Caesar, and our Black Diamond cigars here in Europe as well, which are luxury cigars made by the Arturo Fuente family in their factory in the Dominican Republic.
I think the Caesar has also a funny story because it's not written like Caesar.
It does, exactly. And so when you look at our Diamond Crown Julius Caesar cigar, you'll see two things. First of all, the man and the cigar label is not the Roman general. It's a picture of my great-grandfather dressed as a Roman, because when my great-grandfather left Austria-Hungary and came to the United States, his name was Julius Newman. And when he came to America, the immigration officer told him that he had to have a middle name. But my grandfather didn't have a middle name, so the immigration officer said, if your first name is Julius, I'm going to give you the middle name Caesar, like the Roman emperor, which is how our company became the J.C. Newman Cigar Company. So in honor of his birthday and our company's 110th anniversary, we introduced the Diamond Crown Julius Caesar line of cigars in honor of my great-grandfather, but it's spelled C-A-E-S-E-R instead of C-A-E-S-A-R, the way the Roman general is, because that's how my great-grandfather's name was spelled by the immigration officer in the United States.
Okay.
So it's not misspelled on the cigar, it's just how his name was spelled in real life.
It's a funny story. So this immigration officer thought he was, educated in history.
That's right.
But actually he wasn't.
He wasn't, that's right.
Amazing. So, our channel is named Better Together.
Yes.
And I would say, let's take, for example, a brick house cigar, because that's a very popular cigar in Austria and in Germany. Is there anything you would recommend to pair, or is it like,
no,
just go?
I know I'm supposed to be here recommending a pairing because cigars are better together. But in my view, you should enjoy what you want with a cigar. So if you prefer coffee, enjoy a cigar with coffee. If you prefer Dr. Pepper, enjoy a cigar with Dr. Pepper. If you prefer champagne, open a bottle of champagne. Cigars are made for enjoyment. There's no right way to enjoy a cigar. There's no wrong way to enjoy a cigar. The purpose is enjoying a cigar.
Actually, Better Together for me is not just the pairing. It's also, we enjoying cigars together.
That's right. Yeah. Cigars are meant to be enjoyed together. That is for sure. And that's one of the best things about the cigar industry, the cigar world, is that cigars have a unique way of bringing people together. It doesn't matter your background, your education, the language you speak, your religion, your age, how much money you make. If you enjoy cigars, we can all be friends. And that's something very special and very unique in this world that cigars do.
I like very much because you say industry. And now everybody, maybe of our viewers, if you talk about industry, we talk about the car industry, huge industry. You talk about, kind of manufacturing industry, it's huge. You told me before that there are only, let's say, a few families that are actually defining this industry.
So, the Cuban cigar world is a little different, but in the new world cigars, there are about 15 families who've been making cigars for a very long time, and they're largely family businesses, and they're multi-generational. And that's one of the things that makes our industry very special, is that we're a small industry, but everyone knows everybody else, people get along, they respect each other, they help each other out, because again, cigars are made for enjoyment, and we don't want that to change.
So there are no fights between these two families that you will meet each other every Tuesday?
No. I think we compete in a certain way in the markets. We're all selling our own cigars, but at the end of the day, we're all friends, and the industry is better together. The industry is stronger when everyone does well, and there's plenty of room for everyone to be successful.
Yeah, amazing. I have to say, I love these insights because, I mean, we talked about this before, but the big difference to me is if you meet the people behind these wonderful cigars we are smoking, because most of our viewers, unfortunately, they never have the chance to meet you and your colleagues. But I think it's for us kind of something we need to do, we need to show.
Yes.
And that's just amazing. I mean, I think, really thanks for giving us insight, for giving us the possibility to show our viewers how this industry looks like. And I hope they're going to enjoy a lot of J.C. Newman cigars in the future.
Yes, I hope so too. We make wonderful cigars from all around the world. And we also invite you and your viewers to visit us in the cigar city of Tampa, Florida. We have a 114-year-old cigar factory, which is the last traditional cigar factory still operating in the United States. And we've turned it into a tourist destination. So just as you might visit a winery or a whiskey distillery, our cigar factory has become the destination for cigars. We welcomed 15,000 visitors to our factory last year for tours, for cigar rolling classes, for tastings, for events. We had 80 events in our factory last year, from weddings to business meetings to political events, all about the enjoyment of cigars. And so the next time you're in Florida, please come and visit us, and love to share this wonderful tradition of cigars with you.
I think we have to come.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So, zweiter Tag ist rum. Bergfest. Jetzt so langsam werden die Beine doch schwer. Ne? Gestern hast du gesagt, deine Beine gingen noch. Meine waren gestern schon ziemlich müde. Aber heute merkt man es richtig. Und wir haben, glaube ich, richtig gute Leute heute getroffen, oder?
Ja, voll. Ich meine, es fühlt sich ein bisschen an wie Arbeit, aber nicht, weil es Arbeit ist, aber es fühlt sich einfach vom Gehen und vom Laufen so an. Aber ich muss sagen, was heute war, es waren wieder unglaublich tolle Leute. Und das ist genau das. Die Zigarren sind fantastisch, fast überall. Aber die geben uns auch gute Zigarren. Aber das Spannendste ist sicher die Personen, die wir treffen und die Geschichten, die die erzählen. Ja. Da waren Sachen dabei, auf die könnt ihr euch freuen. Aber morgen müssen wir nochmal.
Ja.
Und dann
geht's zurück für dich.
Geht's zurück für mich, genau.
Und wir fahren dann noch 8 Stunden nach München zurück.
Ja, da fliege ich lieber. Aber bleibt dran, folgt uns bis morgen oder morgen und dann sehen wir uns.
Bis dann. Ciao.
Ciao.